Fantasy Sports Podcast. For our last segment of the day, we have a special one. We are, for the first time, talking about a group of 5 team. And it certainly seems foolish to not talk about one, especially in the new look 12-team CFP, because, of course, one of them is finally going to get there. But the big question was probably, well, who is the group of 5 team that I want to highlight as my personal pick to make the SEC, and in terms of win projection totals, have enough to do it? And it should be no surprise to anybody. This team has so much excitement about them. They bring in Jamie Chadwell, kind of the group of 5 king in terms of what he did at Coastal Carolina. Have one of the electrifying QBs in the country in Caden Salter. They return a lot of their depth. And I really think that this team, if they get into the CFP, could sneak up on a lot of people. And I'm, of course, talking about the great Liberty Flames. Remember, this was a team that was not even in the FBS a couple of years ago. The whole Hugh Freeze era, just trying to make a name for themselves, getting into the FBS, getting into Conference USA. Well deserved for Liberty, and it's a new day rising for them. And I think that out of all the teams that I think about in the group of 5, you might look at, App State's up there, maybe Coastal. I'm kind of high on Troy too. I think that at the end of the day, there's no better path for a group of 5 team, a group of 5 conference champion than Liberty. They're projected to go 11 games are undefeated 57% of the time. Their over-under is 10.5. The over's minus 134. The under's plus 106. Those can't be better odds for them to go undefeated. And when I look at the schedule, it's really easy. The only hard game that I see is at App State. And I even think that they would, be able to do that. They would be able to be at App State and go there and win. They're just the better team, in my humble opinion. Then you have Western Kentucky at home. And, Western Kentucky, they're also trying to make a name for themselves in a group of 5. But at the end of the day, this is like comparing apples to oranges here. Because Liberty had a beautiful thing. They still have Caden Salter, a guy who threw for 32 touchdowns, only 6 picks. They have Treon Sibley, Kyler Austin, 2 receivers, returning, looking for bigger roles in the system. And most importantly, they have the group of 5 guru, the group of 5 coach that I really respect the most, in Jamie Chadwell. When I think about Jamie Chadwell, I think about what he did at Coastal Carolina. And I think about all the teams he had at Coastal Carolina and the grit and physicality they brought to the table. And when I think about Liberty, and think about the opportunity they have, there should be no reason why they should feel any pressure, right? If you believe that you're the best group of 5 team, just prove it on the field. Yes, the selection committee will only put you at, say, the 12, 11 seed, because out of all the conference championships, you're only the 6th highest ranked. But you get a place at the table. That's the thing. The only group of 5 team to ever make the CFP in the 4-team format was Cincinnati. And the reason they did it, because they looked good in every single game. They had a game against Notre Dame, a ranked opponent, that they won. They went undefeated, and they earned their right. And now in the new 12-team CFP, if Liberty goes undefeated, and they continue to set the benchmark for the group of 5 and their play, then that should give the selection committee a lot of impetus to be more inclusive. And I'm not saying that many group of 5 teams right now deserve to be in the CFP. But Liberty can certainly make a name for themselves. Let's talk about not necessarily the schedule, but what the implications would be for Liberty if they get into the CFP. Let's say they do get into the 12th seed, because that would perhaps be the most logical kind of place for them because of their status as a group of 5 player. You face, say, the second best team in the SEC, so that would be Texas. Oh, that would be an exciting game. That would be gunslinger against gunslinger. You or Salter, that would be an instant classic. Now, I would have to pick Texas in that one, and I always will root for Texas. But if Liberty can at least keep it close, if Caden Salter can prove to the world that group of 5 QBs are electrifying and exciting to watch, then doesn't that give the selection committee a little bit more impetus to say, hey, Liberty can actually compete in this? Ultimately be more inclusive in future years. Say there is talk of an approved 14-team playoff. Let's say, conference realignment happens even more and more. Let's say Florida State and Clemson leave the ACC. How is that impact, the group of 5? Because then the ACC is probably going to be one of the worst conferences in college football. Even if they do add, the Pac-2 right now in OSU and Washington State, then you have all of these teams in the SEC and Big Ten just trying to knock each other out. It's just going to be a battle royale, and then the group of 5 will have all these teams that feel like they're worthy because they have better records than all these SEC and Big Ten teams. It's really going to be a weird kind of duality there, if that did happen. But back to Liberty, and back to the importance this season for them holds. By just getting their foot in the doorway, by potentially in a matchup against a Texas team, that has had the experience before, wanting to actually win and compete in the CFP, if they keep it close, man, that's truly something the selection committee will have to be aware of. Because it pushes and pushes and pressurizes the selection committee to really understand the group of 5 deserves a place at the table. Now, in terms of, group of 5 conferences, and considering the fact that Liberty is in Conference USA, a conference where you don't necessarily have a lot. I believe Marshall is another decent team in that conference. I think the way the Liberty has to approach this season is, if we go undefeated and we blow out teams, and we get into the CFP, no matter what our seed is, we are showing up and showing out against no team should want to play us. And so that's what I love about Liberty, this feeling of reckless abandon to them. And I feel like if you're a group of 5 team, say like an App State, say like a Coastal Carolina, might have a little bit of a transitional period, say like a Troy, if, Liberty does go undefeated, you also have to bolster them as well. You also have to say, if you're App State and you lose to them, you have to give as much respect to them as you can. Because you yourselves are trying to get your foot in the door as well. You, as a group of 5 collective, have to come together and support Liberty in whatever way you can. Or whatever team emerges from the group of 5. I'm not saying let's set in stone that Liberty is going to be the conference champion that the selection committee picks. But if you really think that college football is heading in a direction where more and more teams will have the opportunity to play in the playoff, you have to be looking at Liberty, if they do go undefeated, which could not happen, to be the benchmark for you, to be your voice. And so, this is not like a pitch for, you to ultimately rush to the door and bet the over on Liberty. No. This is more of an analysis of college football as a whole, but also considering what wins mean to the group of 5, because wins to the group of 5 are much more important than wins to the SEC at the end of the day. And that's the reason why I wanted to do this segment on Liberty. Because if there is ever a group of 5 conference champion that has the resources, the understanding, the nuance to compete in the first ever 12-team CFP and make a name for themselves, it has to be Liberty. They are the only representative in my mind that I feel could understand the nuances of going up against a big boy, a Texas maybe, an Ole Miss, LSU maybe, an Alabama, and really take it to them. That says a lot about you as a team. So wins aside, if you want to bet on Liberty, bet on them winning the battle for the group of 5. Because in the future, college football is not going to look the same. And if there's any conference or any group of conferences that takes advantage of that, it's the group of 5. So yes, I'm taking the over on Liberty. And I'm confident that they have the best chance out of any in the group of 5 to win out and be a conference champion, to be considered for the selection committee. Think of this more as a pitch for what could be the future of college football. Because I could talk about win projections, but win projections can become more important when they matter to more teams. And that's the message I want to leave you with on this Friday edition of the GSMC Fantasy Sports Podcast. And with that, that concludes our show. Thank you guys for tuning in all week. I've been Christopher Shepard. Please like, follow, and subscribe to the show. And if you do feel so inclined for now, go to the link gsmc.cloud to leave a tip or donation if you do feel so inclined. Thank you guys yet again for tuning in. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time, a little bit of hiatus. But when we will be back, we'll be live. And this show will get even more exciting. I promise you that. Thank you yet again.